Hello everyone, welcome once again to Arrow Discussions. I am Captain Logan.
I'm Steve Baxi.
And Steve and I are here to finish out the mid-season. Yay, Steve. More Arrow. We're talking, actually, partly yay and partly not yay. This is a little bit bittersweet, right? Because not only, well, somewhat bittersweet in that this whole season's been really, really strange, and we'll get there. But also because we're not going to be doing weekly discussions on Arrow anymore, which is really sad for me. This is the one that I'm having the hardest time letting go of as just like one long show every week, because Eric and I have been doing it since the beginning of the series. And now we decided to go to a different format where we're not going to be doing a different show on every series, because the writing was on the wall when all this other stuff started getting announced. And now it seems all but definite that we're going to get Supergirl and Teen Titans and Krypton now. And I don't know how to do a couple and not all of them. So Steve and I are ready to announce what we're going to be replacing this with. And I wanted to wait and do it here because, we had some things to solidify, but also because Steve's the guy that's going to be doing this with me every week. So we've announced that we're going to be doing overviews at the ends of half seasons. We're still planning on doing that. If everything goes according to plan, that's what we're going to do. If we have a hard time coordinating the schedules, we may end up waiting and doing like all of it, at the end of the season. But I kind of still want to do it this way. So we'll have like panels, sort of like we do with a lot of superhero movies, and we'll talk about the whole half season, and we'll do like best episode, worst episode, and stuff like that. But a lot of folks have been asking us, because Steve, we have a lot of new subscribers that are here just for these. And I don't think I knew that. I don't think I realized that until we announced what our plans were for 2015. And I feel kind of bad just leaving those folks, high and dry. So what we're going to do, and we had been kicking this around anyway, but we've got it solidified now. This is the plan, is we're going to do a live show at the end of the week, and Steve and I are going to talk about every superhero show that came out that week, everything we've been doing discussion shows on, and all the new stuff coming out. So we're going to add Agent Carter, and everything that's coming out next year, we're going to do it all. Steve and I are, of course, going to keep up with all this stuff anyway, and so at the end of the week, sort of like the old comic live show that I did with Dan Torrey, we're just going to talk about every single thing that we watched until we're finished. And the plan right now is for it to be about a 2-hour show. So I know that sounds very long, but what we're going to do is, for folks that don't watch it live, we're going to put in timestamps like we did with the comic reviews. So you can come in and just listen to the show that you like. And so if you watched Gotham Discussions and that's all you cared about, you can go, then you're probably not watching this, but then you can go in and just listen to the Gotham part and nothing else and skip around. And so we're still going to have the weekly discussions for you. They'll be a little bit shorter. They'll be a bit more condensed. And since we're going to have to remember as much as we can for every show, they won't be as thorough. There's just well, at least I don't think they will be. We're going to do it live so that we can interact with folks that are watching with us as we're doing it. So we were really enjoying the answering questions and comments section at the beginning of these, and a lot of the viewers, Steve, seem to really enjoy getting to get in on the action with that. Now you're going to be able to get in on the action right as we're doing it, immediately. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to have like a chat where people can write comments and we'll look at them, and we'll let you be part of the conversation as we're having it. Google Plus has this really annoying thing where some people are able to comment and some people are not able to comment, and it's really weird, and we're going to try to come up with some kind of a workaround for you for that. So anyway, that is the plan right now. We're going to begin this in January when Agent Carter starts, and like whatever the first week where there's more than one show, we will start our new live show, and we'll do whatever came out that week. So the nice thing is when we have breaks, or when we have like pseudo breaks where there's some weeks where we only have like 1 or 2 or 3 shows, you'll still get a show from us, and you'll get to hear us talk about that stuff longer. We are also going to bring in the other discussion hosts as often as they can be here with us. So we're going to always invite Dan Torrey and The Real Manos and Dan's News and Eric and everybody that's done these with us. And hopefully they can be with us sometimes or maybe even very often. And we'll have these kind of panel discussions about this stuff. So discussion shows are not dead. It's just going to be more condensed. And the title for it right now that we're kicking around is Primetime Crisis Live, because I just felt like
Manos.
That first of all, Manos came up with that, and that was super awesome of him. I said the word crisis has got to be in there somewhere because there's just so many of them. It's crazy, and crisis is a big thing that pops up when there's so many universes that you can't keep up with them all, and that's where we're at right now with TV shows, Steve. So anyway,
that's exactly where we are. It's terrifying,
and really super exciting all at the same time. It's like I keep saying this, we are ridiculously spoiled right now. I mean, how cool of a problem is this to have, where there's so many? I can't do a show every week.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we have to debate between Constantine, S.H.I.E.L.D., Arrow, Flash. Like, when did you think that was going to happen?
Yeah, never. It's awesome. It's really...
On the same week, we got Reverse Flash and Ra's al Ghul on TV. Like, that's a dream come true for people.
Yeah, there are folks that can die happy because that happened.
Yes. Now, if Ra's al Ghul was better, we'll talk about that.
Okay. So anyway, we want to thank everybody who has made suggestions about ways that we could kind of keep this stuff around and stuff, and we've incorporated some of that in this idea. I hope everybody likes it. I'm looking forward to hearing people's feedback on the plans there. And once again, it's going to be a live show. We're going to be doing it on Sunday nights. And if you're not able to be there, of course, it will still be up, and you'll still be able to go there and go to the timestamps and listen to whichever ones of them you like. So anyway, after all of that wordiness about the future, why don't we now jump into the mid-season finale for Arrow. It's The Climb, and we're going to we're not going to do questions and comments from last time because I did this with Flash too. Since there's a lot of comments about Flash and a lot about Arrow, we didn't want to deal with Flash on this show, and we talked about that for 2 hours. So I think our thoughts about that are pretty well documented. So anyway, thanks everybody who left comments, and sorry we're not going to tackle those today. But we want to go ahead and jump straight into the mid-season finale. I think we probably have lots of things to say about this. So let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. I want to begin with, I keep saying that we're stretching things out like crazy this season, and that we're plotting scene to scene and then episode to episode, and that has never seemed more crystal clear than watching this episode, Steve.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, we get a number of revelations about stuff that happened in the past, like what's with Thea and Malcolm's relationship, what's going on with Ra's al Ghul, who killed Sarah. We get all that in this episode, but it feels like they had no idea where they were going with this 2 episodes ago. And some of it's just like plot issues, like when they get the DNA off the Arrow and it's 12 out of 13 matches for Oliver. Well, Thea was arrested last year too. Why didn't her DNA get a perfect match? And it's just stuff like that.
Oh, that's a really good point. Well, and in fact, they happened really close together, because he got arrested when Lance thought he was the Arrow in like episode 4 or 5. I mean, it happened really quick, and then she was arrested for vertigo use not 6-7 episodes later.
Yeah, exactly. It should have gone off for her, and so instead we have like an extra 15 minutes that don't really matter because we're debating whether or not it's Oliver or Thea, and we already should know it's Thea.
That's really strange. Yeah. Okay, so where should we start with all of this?
Do you want to go to Malcolm first? Because I feel like we both have a lot to say on him, and I feel like we should just move that rock out of the way.
Yeah, because, okay, so this whole season has been a murder mystery, and I really liked the idea that it was a murder mystery. I thought that was a neat idea, because it was like, let's not do another big convoluted big bad plot. Turns out we kind of have one of those now, and it's what was propelling the murder mystery plot in the first place. The problem with the murder mystery plot throughout the whole season has been, as much as much weight as we gave Sarah's death, and I loved the episode right after she died. I loved a lot of things about it. It reminded me a lot of The Body from Buffy, that we were like really taking our time and mourning this death and trying to figure out what our lives were going to be like after that and just deal with mortality. The problem is, ever since then, Oliver's been kind of just generically brutish and angry, and as have a lot of the other characters. And so what we've been dealing with it has been just a bunch of other episodes moving other little subplots along, and then we have to keep like reminding it. Oh yeah, and the Sarah thing is there, and we haven't made any headway on it because we just don't know where. We just don't know anything. We can't figure out where to go. I feel like the way Oliver was when like he was so committed to figuring this out when she first died, that I feel like he would be working a lot harder to figure it out. And it feels like the only reason that it feels like the show wants us to think that he has been, but it's kind of had to get put in the background because it wasn't a complex enough mystery to keep building on it. And I feel like if we'd had the caliber of writing we had at the beginning of last season, all the way through the middle, we could have kept building on this instead of stalling it, you know what I mean? So it's like, and now we have this clue, and now we have this clue, and now we've got this clue, and we just keep building it and building it, and like, we're getting little pieces of it. And instead what it's been is red herring after red herring after red herring. And the Malcolm thing infuriates me a little bit because they thought he had something to do with it. They thought he did it, and then they were like, "Oh well, like it couldn't have been him because of these pieces of evidence, and because Oliver looked him in the eye and it wasn't him." And I wish I had that superpower, but no, it's okay. I actually trust that a lot with Oliver Queen. I think Oliver Queen can look at you and tell if you're lying. But except that he was responsible for it. That's the problem, is that he did kill her. He just mind-controlled his daughter to do it. But anyway, so he's got Malcolm right there in his sights. And we kept complaining about the silliness of, and kind of the moral craziness of, he's not gonna try to capture him or do anything just because he says, I can't be put in a prison. If Ra's al Ghul, and we'll get to that, because I'm not sure I even buy what he's doing, but if Ra's al Ghul and Nyssa actually managed to kill anybody in their quest to figure out who killed Sarah and to make Oliver figure it out, he's kind of partially responsible for that, is he not?
Yeah, I mean, he's wholly responsible. His whole plan, his whole convoluted mess of a plan that involves Thea and Ra's al Ghul, it doesn't make any sense because it brings him back exactly where he was in the beginning. I've got like paragraphs in my notes.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to just bullet point this really quick because this is how it builds and this is how it goes.
Real quick before you do that.
After his apparent death at the hands of the Arrow, Moira leaked his survival to Ra's al Ghul, who was after him for the remainder of Season 2 because the undertaking was against league law. And then Malcolm finds out Thea's his daughter, so he takes her in and trains her. Then he uses her to kill Sarah and Nyssa's beloved so that Oliver will face Ra's al Ghul and kill him, which erases their blood debts. Here's the problem. If he needs Oliver because he's strong enough to kill Ra's, which I don't believe, then if his plan worked, instead of Ra's hunting Merlin down, it would just be Oliver. Because Oliver said that he's ready to kill him in this episode. And if he doesn't think Oliver is stronger than him, then why did he do this all in the first place? And then that ties back to what you were saying earlier about, like, if Oliver just shot him in the leg or something in that episode, this whole thing could have been avoided. This mystery is 2 episodes long. And we stretched it for like 10 or 11.
Well, real quick, before we get into the rest of all that, and I got a paragraph of my own. The thing is, when I because I think you might have misheard me a little bit. When I said he was responsible, I mean I think Oliver is partially responsible for anybody who gets killed now.
Oh, okay.
Is what I mean, because he didn't even try to take Malcolm in. He's like, no, he wasn't responsible. It's like, yeah, but he hurts people as a matter of course for like whatever it is he's doing. It doesn't make any sense that you're not at least trying and that you I don't know. I guess now in hindsight, looking at this, Oliver seems really dumb for not realizing that there's still a good chance that he has something to do with the death of Sarah. So
I mean, he doesn't even question what Merlin's doing alive now. He just takes his word for like he's traveling the world or walking around or something. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and it's not until this episode that they finally start looking at like flight records and stuff, and like, oh, he's been flying to all these different places so that we won't know where he is. And I'm like, I don't know, you guys are all really easily duped now, it seems like, and he doesn't even have to try that hard. But Steve, Malcolm's plot is so convoluted. The feeling I get is that the writers, when they started this season, did not realize how extremely confusing and convoluted and nonsensical a lot of the end of last season was, and they're still writing like that. That is really unfortunate. Like, Eric and I were really praising them at the beginning of the season of, okay, they've decided to kind of like back it off a little bit and go a little bit slower and a little bit more methodical because they bit off more than they could chew last season. I'm not sure if that's exactly what happened. I feel like it's more of maybe just a surface. We wanted a different flavor this season. You know, we didn't want it to feel like the exact same thing we had last year, so we decided to. But I think part of it also is last season, here's all these things we want to do, and I think this season we don't really know what we want to do anymore. We're not. We know like broadly. We know we want to do our thing with Ra's al Ghul. We know we want to do a thing with Palmer. You know, there's some stuff in there, but they had all of these like complicated and interesting plot points they wanted to get in someplace last season, and this season I kind of feel like they've really lost sight of character progression, and I keep saying that where it's kind of just okay, we've got these like big elements, these big like comic book things we want to do, and then in the midst of that we've got to keep making it seem like we've got a plan for Oliver, character wise, and like I said, he just doesn't seem like he's necessarily the same person episode to episode.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my notes as of this episode are just like things they could have done better. Yeah. And it's really frustrating when the only comment I really have is rewriting the episodes, because what we got is not only not satisfying, but it doesn't make a lot of sense where we're going. Like, Oliver was and Justified Means Consequential season 1. He's evolving in season 2 to where he wants to escape that.
Right.
Season 3 is Ra's al Ghul is completely comic book consequentialist.
Right.
And you don't use that to talk about the pros and cons of each or anything like that?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you don't even do basic, this comes to mind because of the nature of it.
I will say that I think we have still the potential as we continue to maybe do more of that with those characters. Because I get the feeling that Ra's al Ghul is probably going to get a lot more screen time as we progress with however we decide to handle Oliver at the end of this, and I'm sure it's Lazarus Pit. I mean, I bet you $500 it's Lazarus Pit. I don't know how else they do it, or whatever their version is. I think putting Oliver on something like Mirakuru in order to, and frankly, I don't know who is there that would even want him to survive. So I'm not sure how in the world he comes back. But whatever it is, unless they do a silly thing where like he gets stabbed, but it misses the heart, and then like he's not quite dead and he's able to like crawl someplace or something. I guess they could do that. But it might be really interesting. I'm just saying if they did like kind of a Slade thing with him, where he has the potential to go the direction Slade did in his thirst for revenge, and he's got to figure out how to not go that way. Going back to Malcolm's plan, so this is all a conspiracy so that he can erase his blood debt. And two big things. First of all, I kind of was buying that he cared about Thea. I don't understand who this guy is now. That's rough. I mean, he's become really two-dimensional with this episode.
Yeah, I agreed.
Because the thing is,
when we talked about it in season 1, he was this really complicated villain that's got this nuance with the thing with his wife and how much he's using the city to pay back for it.
Yeah.
And now he's got none of that. Like, this isn't even consistent with the love he had for his wife in season 1, and they keep referencing that in this episode.
Well, in season 1, he was he was supposed to be. It's really interesting that he was trained by Ra's al Ghul, because he was kind of supposed to be Oliver's Ra's al Ghul in season 1. You know, he has that consequentialist thing. He thinks that you've got to break down in order to start over and raise things back up. He thinks he's doing the right thing. He's deluded and he's kind of a sociopath, but you can sympathize to a degree with him, right? Now it seems like he's just trying to. Well, I don't even want to go that far. I think that he is mostly just a plot device in order to have some kind of plausible reason to kill off Sarah. And I feel like if you wanted to have somebody kill her, like have somebody have an actual motive and make it interesting. Frankly, the thing Oliver comes up with in order to try to convince Roz that he was the one that killed her, when he said she asked me to kill her, that would have been way more interesting if Sarah actually had a death wish and had gotten someone to kill her. And maybe if we had a scene somewhere else where she tried to get Oliver to do it, or we didn't even know that had happened, but it turns out that it happened. And again, I don't want to rewrite the thing. It's just that his bluff is so much more interesting. So I'm like,
it's more consistent with the island stuff we saw with her last season.
Yeah.
It's more consistent with that character. I mean, if you want to talk about other people that could kill her, Slade could have killed her last season, and it would have instantly made everything more interesting.
So Malcolm is really just trying to save his own skin now. And there's just nothing to me very intriguing about that. And also, the way he's doing it, like I said, it's so wiggy. Like, why does he think Oliver has any more of a chance against Roz than he does? I do not understand that. And I also don't understand if this is another one of those villain plots where it seems like we have plotted a bunch of stuff and then we've gone back and decided that was what the plan was all along. And it's flimsier than Slade's in some ways.
Yeah.
Because at least some of what Slade was trying to do made sense, and just like the way he managed to do it seemed too convenient. In this, I'm like, I mean like with this plot, I'm like, okay, so you decided that you were positive. What exactly Oliver's actions would be once he found out that Thea was the one who killed Sarah? Why didn't I don't know how you can be sure what exactly Oliver's going to do with that. That's the first thing. And secondly, if that was the whole plan, why didn't he make it really obvious to Oliver that Thea was the one that did it in the first place, like earlier in the season? I don't understand why it's taken this long for any of this stuff to happen. Nyssa's got that really flimsy reason for taking this long to enact her plan. She's like, oh, I just wanted to wait a while and see if you actually caught Sarah's killer, but you didn't try to. When he was unwilling to kill Malcolm in the episode where she and Oliver finally went to blows over it, I don't know why her plan didn't start then. We ended that episode with her going to Ra's al Ghul and going, this isn't right, we've got to do something, and Ra's going, oh, Sarah wasn't even one of us, I don't really care about that. And then now I guess he does. I don't know what's going on.
I mean, this episode should have just directly followed Ra's al Ghul's first appearance. There's no reason for anything in between. It doesn't add up. When you look back at this, there's so many episodes here that are just superfluous. They're there for red herrings, but you go back and rewatch this season, and they don't matter. You have to skip over them. They play so much worse, even if they're good.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. And I mean, like I always say, I hate being really rough on this, because there's a lot of great production stuff. There are scenes I really like. We'll talk about all of that, but just overall, there's not been a plan, and it's been really obvious, and it feels it feels really, really sloppy. Did I remember? I
mean, there's just basic issues with it too, right? Malcolm's got access to mind control stuff. Why did he have to blackmail Oliver instead of just mind controlling him? Why didn't he show up last season if his whole thing's about his head? Why didn't he just mind control Slade and his army?
Yeah, that's a good question too. Why has he never used that before? Good call.
Yeah, I mean, like, where is Malcolm? Is he omniscient? Does he, like, know everyone that's going on, or does he not? If his whole thing is just to kill Ra's al Ghul, I don't know, why can't he raise an army and train more people? Like, what's his end game, really?
Yeah. I don't get it, and like just the odds of his plan succeeding at all. Like, I felt like he got really lucky. I felt like he, I don't know. It was like there was, yeah. He got really lucky that he just happens to like find an opening to show up and have an excuse to tell Oliver about what his plan is, so that Oliver will then go in and enact it. I just don't understand why he didn't tell him that in the first place. Like, just go to Oliver and go, okay, Thea's the one that killed Sarah, and the League's gonna go after her unless you say it was you. But no, what he does is, he waits all this time until Nyssa finally shows up and decides to do that, which I still say she should have done immediately, and then he goes, oh, I'm just here because you attacked Thea. This is really strange.
I mean, and to an extent, he made this really obvious. All they had to do was get the DNA off the arrow and match it to people. That's all the revelation was.
Yeah, and it makes the Flash thing feel kind of weird too, because like they get there and that's just kind of an afterthought, you know? Like, what if? Because I got the sense that Oliver wasn't even a part of that plan, where Felicity just thinks, oh, I know this person who has better technology than I do. I'll just bring her the blood samples, and then maybe she can help me figure out who did this. That was apparently like paramount for this working. What would have happened if she hadn't done that?
Yeah, I have no idea. The episode where she first goes over to the Flash for a crossover, she could have just done it then, and we would have had it done the next episode. I mean, I don't know. And to some extent, I'm just like, well, Oliver, go call Flash and beat up Ra's al Ghul. Just super speed him.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, and so then we have that issue where it's like, we just did a crossover because that's really cool, but then we're back into... It's almost like they're separate universes, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, if they're that connected, like, again, Malcolm, go brainwash the Flash. It worked before.
Oh boy, yeah, it's falling apart more and more that I'm thinking about it. And while I was watching it, I just kept scratching my head. Okay, am I remembering this wrong? Did we not get to the end of that episode with Nyssa and Roz make a big deal out of how Sarah really wasn't one of us?
A little bit.
I thought that was a huge plot point. Like,
that Sarah isn't one of us, but he's more upset about the fact that she was in love with Nyssa, and Nyssa is grieving over it, so that's why he's going to war.
Is that what it's supposed to be? Because I felt like it really kind of went against that whole thing where I had the sense that the point of the end of that episode was she really wants to go to war with Oliver, and see, I need to watch it again because yeah, they did play it up like there's a like Roz is gonna go up against Oliver, but I didn't feel like it was to get revenge for Sarah. I felt like he had other reasons.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit more to it. I think from what I'm remembering, just from like flashbacks and stuff, it's that Nyssa's upset over it. But even if that's the case, then all of this just doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense.
Haven't they just really oversimplified it? I mean, I'm having a hard time buying that if Roz didn't, excuse me, if Roz didn't approve of her being with Sarah, it seems to me like he wouldn't even recognize that that's her beloved, right?
Yeah, and I mean, the bigger deal for Roz should be that Oliver knows that Malcolm is alive and no one came to him, so now he has to kill Oliver and Malcolm for going against his back. Like, his whole thing, yeah. The whole reason he was introduced is to get Malcolm.
Yeah. So I don't know. The villain plot is super flimsy. And I think it hurts Thea even more. Because she is even more of a quagmire now than she was before I knew she was mind-controlled. Because, first of all, just don't make it mind-control. Like, she has been so weird this season You could have fixed a lot of that for me. Now, I don't think you could have fixed a lot of the way the stories were told, because I still say there was a lot of, I'm supposed to care about her like she's a normal character, even though she's acting like really seedy and stuff. But you could have fixed some of that by having her really having conspired with him the entire time, and finally revealing that it was always her intention to go back to Starling City, and to kind of deceive Oliver. Although, I mean, it took too much coaxing. I don't know why she waited as long. I guess she was being trained. I guess she was just training. And I would buy her being positive Oliver would show up to try to take her back than I am about Malcolm being positive about Oliver responding to finding out that Thea killed Sarah over mind control by, okay, I'll play your game and go to... man. Okay, did Malcolm think that he would come up with that on his own? Or like where he was like, okay, as soon as he finds out that Thea was the one that did this, he's gonna go fight. He's gonna go have this honor fight with Ra's al Ghul and pretend like he was the one that did it in order to protect Thea. Because like I said, if he didn't think that was what was gonna happen, then he just took the opportunity to show up and make sure his plan worked right, instead of just making a phone call a couple of months ago. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm going in circles. I don't understand that. It's kind of blowing my whole mind. But with Thea...
Yeah, I mean, it does make a lot of sense. First of all, we confirm now that Thea is an idiot, that she doesn't know Oliver is the Arrow.
Nope, she doesn't know it. She has no idea.
And that's just ridiculous. That's beyond stupid. I mean, you're telling me Malcolm used you for all of this, and he didn't tell you that he was the Arrow. That's the crux of his whole plan. I mean, come on.
Well, no. But hold on. Because he used her for that whole thing, but she doesn't know that she was used for that whole thing. That's what's so weird about this.
She should have been, her whole thing up to that point was she's playing Oliver, she's working with Malcolm. And then it turns out that doesn't ultimately matter because Malcolm just brainwashed her in the first place.
But that's the thing
then you go back to last season and you wonder, does Malcolm even really love her or not? What's her point if she's just a means to his end?
See, the problem is we're using common sense and drawing the obvious conclusions, and the show is not. What I have to assume now is that she wasn't playing Oliver at all. And that she was just trying to kind of live in both worlds somehow. I now have no idea why in the world she is still hanging out with Malcolm, and I get the sense that it's just this kind of superficial, I've decided now after the few months I spent with him that, he's my real dad, and I like him now, regardless of all the people he killed, and what he did to my mother, and all of that stuff. And, that's ridiculous. I mean, I was able to buy it up to the point that we had in, the second or third episode of the season. I was able to buy to a degree. I mean, I still thought it was rushed, but to a degree, they made me come around a little bit on she goes and trains with him to learn how to not have to feel certain things, be able to kind of compartmentalize her emotions. And then Oliver comes back, reminds her of who her real family is, and so she leaves Malcolm, but takes those skills with her. And now it seems like she decided to try to have her cake and eat it too. And I find her completely unsympathetic. And I kind of... The problem is, what Oliver is doing is played as endearing, and it is to a degree. His willingness to have a fight to the death in order to protect his sister, while... I don't think he's thought it through, because I don't think it really protects her that well, because, if he dies, then he's leaving her on the mercy of Malcolm, and, if she lives, if Roz ever discovers that it's a ruse, and he's a smart guy who's got a lot of resources, he might figure that out, then she's screwed anyway. I don't remember where I was going with that, but anyway, I just, I don't know. I don't think. Okay. So I guess the point I'm making is that while I think he's being kind of dumb about what exactly he's doing, Oliver is sympathetic in what his motivations are, but I want to also care about the person he cares about, and he only cares about her because she's blood right now, because she's kind of morally reprehensible.
Yeah. And I almost wonder if this whole motivation that Oliver has just proves that he hasn't learned anything. Because the whole point of season 1 is that he has a blind spot to his family, and the parallel thing that he did with Moira with Thea in this episode.
Yeah.
But does he actually grow? But if that's the case, like, did he grow at all? Has it been 2 years and he's still the same person? Like, after all of this?
In what way?
I wonder about that.
What are you saying he should have learned about the blindness to family thing?
I mean, like, his mother was capable of a whole bunch of other stuff, and her mother, the whole thing about last season was lies and how lies destroy you, and you can't always blindly trust your family and stuff like that. Did he just skip over all of those lessons again?
Apparently, yeah, and so it feels like a character regression. You're saying that, well, he was allowing himself to be blind to what his mother was doing first season because he didn't want to believe that she was capable of it, and then look what happens, and now he's doing it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also just basic strategy stuff, and I get being blinded by by family and tragedy and being and it being difficult to like strategize after that, but I feel like the episode, I don't think that the show knows that is completely aware of how weird what Oliver is doing is. I feel like what Oliver should have done, and I would have been very impressed with this, and this is what I thought he was going to do. He's playing into Malcolm's hands, right? Like, Malcolm says, oh, you're going to have to pretend like you're the one that did this, and then go to Ra's al Ghul. What he should have done is he should have gone to Ra's al Ghul and gone, okay, so here's the thing. Malcolm Merlin brainwashed my sister to kill Sarah. He should have just told him the
Malcolm
truth.
says that it doesn't matter because Thea still pulled the trigger, but I'm like, how would he know what Ra's al Ghul thinks unless he talks to Ra's al Ghul?
Ra's, I'm sure, knows about the mind control stuff because Malcolm probably has access to it because of the League of Assassins. That's the first thing. I imagine Ra's probably has it too. Unless it has something to do with the whole Amanda Waller thing, because we've got that in the past, and we'll talk about that. That's very convenient. But so like, Ra's is about people. Ra's is about justice. He's about consequentialism, like you said, and so he's got this tit for tat mentality. We are honor bound to take out anyone who does the wrong thing against us, and so I don't think that he would hold Thea responsible if he knew all the facts.
I mean, he obviously wouldn't. His whole thing is we take out the people that are responsible. Thea's not responsible for her actions.
Exactly.
Roy's not responsible for his actions. That's been the message of all of these episodes leading up. It should have just... And I mean, we can't believe anything Malcolm says to Oliver. He lied ever since we saw him. So why would Oliver listen to him instead of just breaking his neck and taking him to Ra's and saying, this is what happened?
And wouldn't this be...
Ra's would understand. Raz's whole thing is the person that's responsible gets the retribution. Oliver killed Malcolm, who's responsible for Sarah's death. It should just end there.
Yeah, Malcolm killed her. Thea didn't kill her. Malcolm killed her. Thea was brainwashed. Who cares? It doesn't matter. She was a gun that couldn't help but be picked up and trigger people. Wouldn't this have been a fantastic way, because you made me think of this a minute ago, to pay off this lesson about how lies just continue to destroy, and that the truth hurts, but once you understand it and move on with it, things might work out. It would have been, especially with like Laurel refusing to tell Lance about Sarah and all of that. We're still dealing with all that stuff. Wouldn't it be really cool if this were the place where Oliver really sobered up and finally said, you know what? Like the Alfred line from Dark Knight Rises, it's time for the truth to have its day. That's what he should have done. He should have said, okay, I'm just going to lay all the cards out on the table, and I may have to do some awful things. Like I like the idea that Oliver is wrestling with, even if I am a hero, even if I believe that I'm the human being that I think I've come to, there may still be times when I am given an impossible choice and I have to kill him. There's nothing I can do. I said on Rewind this last week that like I can buy Superman having to kill in certain places because the alternative is so extreme that what do you do? It's just a whole lot worse. So put Oliver in a situation where he has to do both. You know, put Oliver in a situation where he has to tell the truth because it makes more sense and because everything he's learned since the island is every time I withhold the truth from people, bad things happen.
Yeah. I mean, he was all about making sure Roy understood his repressed memories a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
What should have happened is he shouldn't have confronted Thea in the Arrow costume. He should have just told Thea that he is the Arrow, this is what happened, here's the footage.
Yep.
That would have, A, helped his growth, B, it would have put him in a new direction, and C, it would have made Thea a whole lot more likable, because evidently she liked Thea too. And she doesn't want her to be dead, and clearly there's a friendship there.
Do we buy that when he comes back from getting stabbed and thrown off a cliff at the end of this episode? Do we buy that he's going to come back and a new man and learn from this? Because I don't.
I don't think so.
I mean,
I feel like the writers are going to make us think he did, but I'm not going to buy it.
But they're probably going to just to keep. Because it seems like it's just a matter of let's keep coming up with kind of like the same situation but repackaged just to keep the show going. You don't have to do that. You want you want this character to actually like be heroic now and not be a killer anymore. So why? I mean, again, keep challenging that, but why can't he just start telling the truth?
Yeah.
I feel like we've gotten him there.
I mean, there's a little bit of, like, Oliver's catalyst. The fact that Oliver says that he knows what he's fighting for now and so he can beat Roz, but he loses.
Yeah.
That's a good place to take it. That's fine. That's cool. I think a lot of Roz's characterization is good in that whole situation. It's a really tense scene. It's good. But they don't understand the brilliance of it, and we know that they're just going to focus on, like, the drama stuff. Like, with Thea, we're talking about all these problems with her, but you know what's going to happen next, the second half of the season, where she's going to have her whole temper tantrum about lies because Malcolm's lied to her and brainwashed her.
Yeah, and of course she's completely hypocritical.
Yeah, it's not going to elevate itself to what it's setting itself up to be. It's kind of like what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was a little early on, where there was always potential to do better stories, but they always took the least interesting route.
I still can't believe that Oliver walks in and reveals to Thea that he knows that she's been hanging out with Malcolm. Oh, and first of all, it's kind of funny that there's, if memory serves, he doesn't really present any evidence. You'd think that the first thing she'd ask is, "How do you know that?"
Yeah.
I don't remember. Maybe there was something. But then she says, she's like, "Oh, you should just be fine with that." They don't even have a conversation about the fact that she's lied about it all this time. It's just it's the same thing with the apartment and taking his money and all of that. It's just, yeah, I've been lying to you, but I'm your sister, so anything I do should be okay to you. Just deal with it, whatever.
And I mean, this is the woman that had to deal for like 3 or 4 episodes with the fact that her mother was unintentionally responsible for killing hundreds of people. Now she's hanging out with the guy who's actually responsible for killing hundreds of people.
And it turns out that she has not been corrupted as far as we know. I guess she has, but I just mean that, like, she hasn't been corrupted to, like, follow his cause or anything.
I guess to a certain extent we don't even know that, because
we don't.
If Roz is dead and Malcolm gets his way, what's he gonna do? Like, is he gonna come back? He can't. He's gonna be arrested. Like, what's the next step of this?
Yeah, I mean, his whole plan is just self-preservation. And
I mean, fine, whatever, if he wants to live, but what is he living for? Like, he's now regressed to what Oliver was when they confronted each other for the first time. We don't know what he's fighting for anymore, and the show acts like we do.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. You know, and it's sad because it brings that line back, but like that was really poignant there, and here I feel like it's lost its way a little bit. Like I don't even know if they realize how, you know, you said earlier, like, they don't get the brilliance of certain things. I don't know if they got the brilliance of that.
Yeah, same. It's really, that was a really good episode. That finale justified a lot of really bad episodes that were leading up to it.
Yeah. That season watches a lot better.
They clearly didn't see the rocky foundation they were setting themselves up on.
Okay, let's jump to some other things.
Do you want to talk, just to segue into something more positive, do you want to talk about the actor and the characterization with Roz?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So it is, it's basically a little bit more brutal Batman Begins Ra's. I mean, it's pretty much the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's comic book Ra's al Ghul. He's pretty much off the page. I mean, I don't like the actor very much.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he's great, but we'll talk about that a little bit. But
okay.
They're doing exactly what Ra's al Ghul does. That line, I replaced evil with death. That's
great.
Classic Ra's al Ghul. He says, one man's agony is not worth the lives of an entire city. Or Maseo says that. That's what Ra's believes. That his whole thing, that whole Muslim prayer that he gives Oliver when he kills him, like, it's comic book straight up Ra's al Ghul. Dennis O'Neil commented on what he thought of Ra's on Arrow, and his only complaint was that he wasn't obsessed with the environment. But other than that, he's comic book Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't get why he's going along with what Nyssa wants so much. I still think that's kind of weird. But just as far as what his philosophy is and how ruthless he is, did I see that right? That, like, when they introduce him in this episode, he's training and he just kills guys that can't take him?
Yes.
He's like, look, if you're not good enough, boosh, you're done. Wow!
Yeah, it's fantastic. And the guy just kind of surrenders, too, and Ra's stabs him through the chest. It's great.
Yeah. It's just like...
well, it's not great for him.
No, it's not. No, but the idea is that all of these people are parts of a greater whole, and it's all about the cause.
Yeah.
And I think that's I thought that was a cool way to demonstrate that.
And we've also confirmed that he's ancient. He said he was 67 years ago that he was last challenged. So clearly he's living forever, Ra's al Ghul.
That's another thing that's really weird, though, is that, okay, because I keep going back to this. Malcolm says, I guess what I'm complaining about here is just that, I get the sense that Malcolm thought that Oliver was going to come to the conclusion to do the thing that he wants him to on his own, and then finally he just comes out and says, look, this is what I want you to do, okay? Go do that already! Because he's like, okay, so what I wanted to happen was for you to go challenge Ra's, because that's what has to happen in this situation. And then Ra's is like, nobody's challenged me in 67 years? I just got the sense from the way Malcolm put that this was, like, the customary, regular way this happens. I mean, you can't tell me that Ra's doesn't have to get revenge on people constantly.
I mean, you would think he would have to.
Yeah, you know?
Maybe it's that, like, there were other leaders, and maybe he stepped aside for every now and then or something, but I don't know. You're right, it's a little bit strange.
I just thought that was weird. I mean, I love that line because it tells us that he's ancient. I mean, you know, I really like that. But I don't know if that was thought through very well. That was really strange. I like the actor more than you do.
Okay, that's fair. Everyone I show that clip to loves the actor, and I get that. I think I understand why everyone loves the actor. Because he plays, like, kind of ancient and a little bit almost, like, withered Charles Bronson-esque. And he's really good like that.
Yeah.
My only thing is that his whole writing is comic book Ra's al Ghul, but he doesn't look like comic book Ra's al Ghul.
Oh, okay. I don't think... But once again, I'm not sure how much of the way they're characterizing him isn't coming out of Begins.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of it there, but then Begins also did him pretty straight, except for, like, the Ra's al Ghul's a title thing, and he may not necessarily be ancient.
But I'm just saying, he didn't look like Ra's al Ghul either, and you didn't complain about it there.
But he did. He had, like, the longer beard and the pointed hair and everything.
Oh, so you're just complaining because he doesn't have the right facial hair.
Well, okay, well, it's a little bit more than that. Part of why I don't like him is, we set this guy up with, like, he's the head of the demon. He makes Malcolm run in fear at the mere mention of his name.
Yeah.
He is this commander of the League of Assassins, which are the deadliest people on the planet that Oliver is terrified of. And when we see him, he's always kind of like hunched over. His voice barely, if ever, alters. Every time he looks at people, it's always kind of like the same vacant expression. And I get what they're doing with that, but I feel like they set us up for something more grandiose than this.
Maybe so. I think in a way it is grandiose. I don't know. Like he's so incredibly calm and methodical. I don't think it's vacant. I think it's just he's been around and done this a lot. You know what I mean? Like the sense I got from, honestly, I thought the performance was kind of subtle. And I was okay with it. And sometimes there's a fine line between subtle and not doing enough. But I thought this was kind of subtle. And he won me over because I questioned it a little bit too. I won't lie. I just like to argue with you, Steve. That's all. But you get to the end of the episode, and he has a lot of respect for Oliver. He is impressed he got as far as he did, and I don't think he's just taunting him when he says that. When he says, "You should be proud. No, most people haven't made it this far in a fight with me." I was like, I think he's sincere. I think he's actually impressed with Oliver and impressed with his conviction, because Ra's al Ghul is all about conviction, and he's like and he's like, I'm gonna do what's necessary. But I saw nuance, man. I saw empathy in his face. Like he can empathize with his victims. He's like, look, I'm not so far gone that I don't still realize that I have to be the monster, that I have to do inhuman things to protect the sanctity of humanity, and that like what I do is I kill people when it's necessary so that other people can live, and that's what I saw in him when he killed Oliver.
Yeah, that's fair. Like he prays over his body and everything. He leaves the sword there on the rock, almost like a cross for him. I think all that's there. I'm not sure how much of that's the performance and how much of that is the writing. It's almost as if they knew what they wanted the guy for Ross to be like.
Yeah.
So they cast a guy who wouldn't have to do much to get there.
I don't agree.
Okay.
I'm not with you on it. I'm not with you. I think another actor might have gone too over the top with it. I think somebody who was trying to play really staunch, menacing presence. Like, I don't know, man. I feel like this is a guy who, when he walks into a room and people know who he is, he doesn't have to act like grandiose and theatrical and stuff like that. Like they just know what he's capable of.
I mean, you're winning me over.
What I liked about him was that he looked kind of like war weary. Like he looked like he'd been around and done it. Like he looks tired. I liked that going there with it. He's still scary enough. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, oh, he's ready to be done. He's that kind of tired. I just mean like he's a necessary evil. He completely understands, and I don't think it's all in the writing. I think because a lot of that I saw in the face. I wasn't just pulling out lines of dialogue and going, here's what a psychology is. I saw a lot of that in the face. I don't know, man. I'm not with you. I think he's really good.
I mean, you're winning me over. Every time I've seen that fight at least 4 times.
It's great.
So yeah, like it's a good fight. I like all the dialogue and stuff in it. So maybe you're winning me over. Maybe I'm just getting used to him. I guess it'll depend when we see more of him.
Yeah. I hope, in a way, we don't see too much of him. I think this is a character you could really overuse, and I think you should be careful with it. Now, I will say this. I will say that knowing that Liam Neeson, or at least allegedly Liam Neeson, came out and said he would be perfectly willing to play this character again and would love to come in the show and do it, and probably would have taken a TV paycheck for it, I kind of, if that's true, they should have done that. I mean, like I'm sure a lot of people would be like, oh man, you can't have the same guy play the same character in 2 different properties. I think maybe you could get away with it, especially because if they're just going to straight up do Batman Begins Ra's al Ghul, why don't you just use the guy who played him in the first place? Why not just do Batman Begins Ra's al Ghul? I mean, that's fine. I think, I don't know, like, I'm starting to loosen up about a lot of things that I'm like, no, you're just not supposed to do that. Because in this day and age, have you noticed that with a lot, especially the superhero movies, we're breaking rules all the time. Like, there's all kinds of things that I thought would never happen that happen all the time now, and I'm not surprised by things as much. You could have done that. Now, since they didn't do that, I think the guy they got is giving a different performance, and I like that, and I think it's really good. So I don't know.
Okay, I mean that's fair. Like you said, if it's a character that we don't want to overuse, but if we see like at least a little bit more of him, we get to see maybe just a little bit of vulnerability, see what makes him tick. I might come around on him a bit more. Like I said, I've seen that fight like 4 times. It's a really good fight. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me having like. Because Ra's al Ghul is my favorite Batman villain.
Yeah.
I'm really critical with that guy sometimes.
Yeah, so. Well, I mean, like, we're all picky about our favorite things, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe it's not wholly objective.
Yeah, that fight was cringeworthy, man. There's a couple places where I'm like, oh my god, ow!
Yeah, I love the fact that Ra's just obliterates him. It's great. It's not even a challenge for him in certain respects.
Yeah. Well, I mean, once again, I think he's being sincere when he says that most people haven't made it that far with him. But yeah, it wasn't hard.
Yeah, and I mean, you get that line earlier where he says, "You're just a boy." Like, he's got respect for how far he can get despite his age and despite how much he's been through versus what Roz has been through.
I mean, just watching all of it, I sympathize because I felt like I do every time I play anybody at Mortal Kombat. It's just like, finish him, Captain Logan's dead. Like, I feel that way all the time. Okay, so they are being so obnoxiously predictable with the flashbacks. It's kind of driving me crazy. Like, it's really unfortunate. Okay, so the guy that Oliver had to stay at his house that was working for Amanda Waller in the past, he is now working for Ra's al Ghul. That's convenient. Like, why are we constantly paralleling the year that it is with, like, with, you know what I mean? Like you'll have, okay, it's year 3 and it's season 3, and so everything that happened in that year is affecting and informing everything that's happening in this year. One or two things, okay, but it's like everything. It's like, you know, Amanda Waller is going to have some kind of big giant plot at the end of this. You know it's going to have something to do with Omega. You know that it's and then we've got the flower came from the past. I mean, everything. It's just, I love the Lost format, and we did some of this in season 1. I love the Lost format of, let's do a story set in the past to inform thematically what a character is doing now and show how they've changed and grown, or how they're refusing to change or grow. But more and more, I'm thinking that, and I love a show to prove me wrong on this, but more and more I'm starting to think that only works when you jump around. I really don't think it works when you do when you do something chronological like this. And Eric and I were really worried about this first season, that it was going to turn into something like this, and it is. There's no subtlety at all. It's rough.
Yeah. I mean, we're to this point where at the end of the season, Oliver should just make a timeline of his time on the island and say, okay, 4th year on the island, this is exactly what I should be in for next.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cartoony at this point.
Yeah, you know, season 4. So you know that season 4 is going to be he gets sucked into a boom tube and goes into space. And then he has to fight off Darkseid, who has this big plot that he's gonna institute like 4 or 5 years after this, where he's gonna eat a bunch of babies. And then season 4 is going to be he has to stop that Darkseid eating babies plot that he always knew was going to happen, but he didn't tell anybody about because he's just a pathological liar, and it didn't occur to him to tell anybody about it. And
then Malcolm's going to frame Thea for kidnapping the baby, so Oliver fights Darkseid and kills him, so he doesn't.
It sounds
exactly what's going to happen.
It sounds as good as what we've got right here.
Yeah, maybe better because we get to see Darkseid at least.
So, at what point did we decide that Oliver just tortures people as a matter of course? Like,
I like that in the flashbacks. It's not that he has to torture out of necessity. It's that he's now trained to torture and kind of forced to do it, like we saw at the end of last episode.
Yeah.
But you're right in that he seems to go to that just a bit too easily.
Well,
like, you can see where this guy goes to become season 1 Oliver, where he's just stoic and killer and straight like that. But then we get to, like, present day, and he's just really sporadic about how far he's willing to go.
Yeah, it's random. I mean, like, there was no... Maybe if I go back, I'll notice things I didn't catch before, but if memory serves, there did not seem to be this much, like, whoever I interrogate, I immediately start shooting arrows or breaking arms or, almost going, crazy far with stuff. Season 2 was all, I'm going to become a hero and not go too far. And I never got the sense that he oversimplified it to the point of just, okay, killing is too far, but I can do anything else in any situation. You know what I mean? Like, I thought he was smarter than that. I thought he had gotten to more of a thoughtful case-by-case place. Now, you could make the argument, well, Sarah died, and so now he's losing it. But I haven't seen that consistently.
I mean, they've mentioned it, but they only mention it in
consistent.
In the most obvious way possible, and then they don't go back to it. They don't connect it.
There's
not like Sarah's haunting this season kind of thing going on, and that's what it should be in some ways.
What it seems more like is, well, people will praise us as long as it seems like we're doing parallels. So if he's torturing the past and now he's torturing the present, then that's cool. You gotta be consistent with it. When Oliver goes to the pilot who flew Malcolm Merlin, how would he even know that the pilot was like in cahoots or had any idea what was going on? And he doesn't seem to. Like, if I were Oliver, I would walk up to him and I would start asking questions. And then if he was like really seedy and refused to answer and was like, oh no, Malcolm, no, I can't tell you, Malcolm's gonna kill me, then he's like, well, I'll do something bad to you, and then bluff, and then of course that guy's probably gonna answer. But the fact that he just comes in breaking glass, I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, and I'm sorry, I'm ripping this to shreds.
It a lot.
I'm sorry.
Like, he just kind of pops in, does torture-y-esque things, and then he refuses to do stuff to Malcolm, and that it just makes it even more glaring. It makes it just more inconsistent.
Okay, so everybody hates me now because I'm saying nothing but negative things. Let's
If they made an episode with nothing but positive things, we'd be saying nothing but positive things.
That's a really good point. I was kind of impressed that I actually bought Laurel's mom just suddenly showing up because it's Christmas. Like, at first I was like, oh, that seems convenient. And I was like, well, it's Christmas. I guess that's okay.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with her showing up. It was just the reveal that Sarah is dead, and that whole scene was just so overacted.
Well, did you think it was a little bit forced that she would go to make them pay and make them suffer? I don't know. I mean, okay, here's the thing. Once again, they get people to places that I could be made to buy, but I don't feel like they're doing the legwork. So if you go back to season 1, she was, and I loved this in season 1, that they made me think when she first showed up that she was obsessed and delusional, and that she was like grasping at straws and looking for Sarah in any place she could find her, and that like she could see her everywhere, and she was this really sad, messed up parent who lost a child and couldn't move on, and had to make up conspiracy theories. And then it turns out that Sarah's actually still alive. That's really cool. That like we validate that for her, but there's this. There's this kind of awkward line, this question you gotta ask where you're like, okay, just because she's right, does it mean she wasn't still kind of delusional, that she'd kind of lost it a little bit, that there might have been some mental instability? Because of course Lance had a lot of mental instability after Sarah seemed to die. That's why he became an alcoholic, and his whole family is really screwed up. So I should have bought it. She should have kind of like, I just should have bought this mental breakdown, and maybe it was just the way she acted.
It's just a matter of like having her in more episodes. Maybe like
that's all it
seeding
is.
It a little bit, of making it so that Laurel's whole journey isn't boring and whiny, but it's something that we care about.
Wouldn't it have been really interesting if, because it's almost like they have these afterthoughts where it's like, oh, you know what, we should do something with her mom. Well, what if a few episodes ago they had introduced her, reintroduced her? And by the way, I think the actress is okay. What if?
No, I like her fine. It's just the way that we're talking about her character.
What if they had? This is just an idea. What if they had introduced her, reintroduced her, and she became the person that Laurel confided, like she confided the secret that Sarah died to her mother, and they both decided not to tell her father because they were afraid that he'd have a heart attack, and then she, or maybe her mother becomes the reason that she goes so far and decides to go vigilante. You know, what if her mother, because she's kind of mentally unstable and can't handle it herself and just doesn't have a heart condition, what if she somehow figures out what Laurel's been doing with the training and all that, and she actually encourages it too much, and that's what gets her to go Black Canary? Like, that could have been really interesting.
Yeah, and we made this point earlier of like just rewriting the episode is so much easier than talking about it in ways. Like, your idea is fantastic, and it's too brilliant for the show writers.
But it shouldn't be, because that is season 1 stuff.
Naturally, just from what they're doing.
Yeah, it does. And I feel like they're plotting on a wall instead of plotting through characters making choices and doing things. What else haven't we talked about? So I don't know. We really, really like the Roz stuff.
Yeah, more or less.
Like, more or less, we're pretty happy, or at least the way he's characterized. I actually kind of liked the claim transitions, like going after each commercial break and seeing him go farther and farther up the mountain. Again, I don't buy that this is the choice he's made. It's kind of unfortunate, but. And I guess it's a little bit weird to do like a flash forward while you have flashback, but whatever. I thought that was really cool, and it looks great. I mean, it looks as good as Batman Begins.
Yeah, this is a really well-directed episode. I think we should mention that.
Yes,
just
it is.
Choreography, shooting style, pacing, and stuff like where the story falls apart, the camera doesn't.
And that setting at the end in the Arctic, it's amazing.
Yeah, just like the details in every sound, like the way the sword clangs and moves and stuff like that. Like it's just, it's really well done.
I don't know where they are there. I said Arctic, but I don't think it is. Where are they there? Do we even know?
I don't think we know. All of our mentions are we going to end up our bat, and they say no, this is a secluded, sacred ground, but I don't think they ever give us any more detail than that.
Yeah. Well, why don't we go ahead and go to best moment, worst moment?
Okay. Yeah. My best moment was pretty easily the fight.
Oh, yeah.
With Ra's al Ghul and Oliver. That was just a fantastic fight. Ra's having his hand behind his back almost the whole time.
That was cool.
Yeah. I don't need a sword because I'll take it from you when you're done using it. Like.
Oh man, that was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
not
stuff.
much more to say than go on YouTube, watch it. It's a really good fight.
Yeah, that was mine too. Worst moment.
The moment right before he meets Ra's, where he talks to Nyssa, and Nissa's like, you really think that the demon's head, my father, would travel all this way from Andapar simply because you wish it? And then Oliver's like, yes. And then they just go meet him. Like, what's the point of that scene?
She's oh, you got me!
Like, what is she trying to say with that scene? I don't get it.
Really, after all of our complaints, that was your least favorite scene? That's really funny.
Well, at least with the other problems of this show, I can at least try to articulate what's going on. With that scene with Nyssa, I just have no idea what it's supposed to be. Like, why is it there? It's 30 seconds that don't need to be there.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, because we can sit here and try to dissect it, but I think we're going to fail.
I mean, I don't... What was that? I don't get it.
So it's like...
What is she saying with that?
It's like... Yeah, because she's basically saying, you're so arrogant that you think that my father would actually come all this way. Well, and I think part of the reason that it breaks down and it's not making any sense is because I'm not buying that Ra's cares about this.
No, he doesn't, and clearly Oliver is that arrogant, and clearly Ra's doesn't care. So who is she defending in this case? Yeah,
I mean, but he did go there. You know, I mean, it seems like he's just doing whatever his daughter wants him to do in a way. I mean, I know it's not.
So
that,
now she's insulting her dad more than she's insulting Oliver.
Yeah. Because I mean, like, if he hadn't said that, she would have just said, "Okay, he's over here. Let's go."
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I completely can see why. I mean, I totally see why you picked that. But I just wanted to mention that we've had a very difficult time not just raking this one over the coals. And then when you went to worst moment, you were like, "There's this really dumb thing she says in this one little place." My worst moment was Thea trying to act like knowing Malcolm Merlyn and lying about it is no big deal.
Yeah. That was cringeworthy. I hated everything about that.
I just want somebody to explain to me why I'm supposed to care about this character anymore. That's all.
Yeah, and I mean, she started the series as not being very sympathetic. Season 2, we got to like her a little bit more, and now we just don't know who she is.
Season 2, she got responsible. Her thing with Roy made sense. It was an adult relationship, and I don't mean they're adults in their consummating relationship. I mean that they seem like adults, like there was maturity, but we don't have that with characters we used to have either, do we? I mean, like, Felicity doesn't seem as mature as she used to be either. We didn't talk about all that, like, let's spend all this time talking about one kiss, that really typical relationship thing. That was rough.
Yeah, that was. I also love the fact that every time we get a new character in the show, their backstory is that their loved one died, or their parent died, or their kid died. Like, can someone just have a more interesting backstory?
Also, I didn't buy that he was like, well, after that it was so hard, it hurt me so much that I was never gonna date again. But then with you, all of a sudden, I'm kissing you, and I'm like, it seemed to me like he was coming on her really strong episodes ago.
Yeah, I mean, he was flirting with her every time we saw him on screen. Like, that was his defining characteristic for a while. So, like, what's his line? I can't kiss a woman, but I can flirt with anyone I want to? And what's the lesser of two evils there?
Well, I'm pretty sure what it's supposed to be is just that he fell head over heels for her because we're supposed to love Felicity as much as he does. And I just haven't seen it with them. I've not really seen that chemistry. I don't think it's natural.
Yeah, and I mean, he doesn't even bother to learn about her is the thing.
Yeah.
Like, what does he know about her other than she's attractive and smart? Well, like, what would that relation be based on?
I think it's just supposed to be clever irony of, oh, she falls for superheroes.
Yes, yeah. Superheroes that do the salmon ladder thing for some reason.
and they have, like, these, really tragic backstories.
Yes.
But
it's a wonder she hasn't fallen for Malcolm yet. His wife died.
She falls for people whose wives die. Okay. Oliver didn't have a wife.
No, Oliver didn't. But Ray does, and I'm sure somewhere along the line, Oliver will get a wife that dies.
That dies, yeah. Okay, let's go on to quotes. I think you said all your favorite quotes already.
Yeah, I guess I just have one little bit now, just that summarizes everything I liked about this episode as opposed to everything I hated. When Roz is over the cliff, and he said after he killed that guy, I had stolen from the man the most precious gift of all, life, but also felt something else, pride, because I had taken up arms against someone who sought to do ill against my family, and I realized that what I had done was necessary. I replaced evil with death, and that is what the League exists to do, and I have killed several thousand more men since then, and the world is better off for it.
Yeah.
Like, that's Ra's al Ghul to a T.
He knows what he's fighting for.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, replace evil with death. I love that, and it's such a compelling argument, right? It's scary how compelling of an argument that is.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a really natural progression. The biggest flaw in consequentialist philosophy is it's retribution and it's fair, but it's not justice. And that's all what Season 2 is about. Like, there's a very interesting parallel and argument to be made here, and we know they're not going to do it that way.
Yeah, it's a big missed opportunity.
Yeah.
My favorite lines, I think you've mentioned them all already. Evil with death was the big one. I did kind of, sort of, in the flashbacks, like Oliver's mind control. That's a thing. that was kind of funny. And then in that fight, I'll take your blades from you once you're through with them. Oh man, that's great. It's just like, no, little kid, you just play with your toys for a little bit. I'll just watch it. And then
that's exactly what that fight was.
I'll have my turn after you're done with him. He didn't need him. I'm pretty sure the only reason that he used a blade to stab Oliver is just because it's kind of an honorable death.
Yeah, I mean, if he really wanted to, he could have just, like, choked him or given him, like, a Vulcan neck pinch that was fatal or something. Like, this guy clearly knows what he's doing better than anyone else.
Yeah. Besides the Ra's al Ghul stuff, Demon's Head, all that kind of stuff, and some of the stuff with Palmer, did you notice any like particular comic references that we didn't talk about?
No, nothing overtly obvious. Like you said, there's the Ra's al Ghul stuff, there's the Ray Palmer stuff, but nothing else.
Okay. Let's go ahead and talk about some predictions and hopes if we have any. The obvious one is, so the big Starling City is in danger plot at the end of the season is Omega, right?
Yeah, it's that. We've got Lazarus Pits now, and possibly the League of Assassins will be in there somewhere. Amanda Waller maybe has the virus and unleashing it, but Ra's al Ghul wants to stop her or something.
Yeah. Now, that you could have a really... I mean, again, I don't like that all of that is in the Year 3 stuff, but you could have a really interesting discussion there about, like, where you've got a government entity doing a really, really extreme thing in the name of protecting people, and then you've got this vigilante organization that's doing the exact same thing, and how is one better than the other, and that kind of thing. So I like the idea of putting those two things up against each other. where Roz would be like, oh, Waller's corrupt, but you could look at him and be like, well, I don't see how you're any better, really. You're willing to kill as many people as it takes to get whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, the most compelling counter-argument against Ra's al Ghul is if you kill 50 people to root out one killer, who's the worst person there?
Who's the worst? Yeah. So let me ask you this question, since you're the philosophy guy, and I have a hard time even talking about this topic with you without feeling like I'm going to use some word wrong. I'm always like, oh man, I may not know what that word really means, or think I do, and then Steve's like, no, you don't even know what that means. What is the difference between Waller's philosophy and Raz's? Is it not really similar, or is she a little bit more corrupt than he is, in that like she's able to justify massive slaughterings for things where she's not really actually getting enough out of it, and she kind of just goes to violence really fast, and he doesn't as much. Like, is there a difference?
Yeah, there seems to be a pretty big distinction there. The thing is, though, like, we don't have enough with Waller and Raz to really say.
Okay.
But just from this episode forward, there's two main houses of consequentialism. One is rule consequentialism, one is act. It really seems to be obvious that Raz is the act consequentialist, that your actions and their consequences are what matter, and that's where you derive any sort of agreement from or any sort of revenge from. And Waller seems to be more about rule, where there's a system in place, and whatever you do, if those consequences undermine that system, then it's wrong.
Okay.
But that's just coming from the place like she's a government woman, and Raz is more of a shadow, or more of a he controls villages kind of person.
I think we may have enough with Waller from season 2 to go that far, though.
Yeah, I think so. I think
you're
I'm
right.
pretty settled on Waller being rule. Yeah. It's just possible that Raz is also rule. Because after, like, 1900s, no one's an act consequentialist anymore. It becomes too unpredictable to say what actions will have what consequences. So most people are rule, and the League has laws and rules.
Yeah.
But just based on what we've got with him so far, it seems like he more leans towards that act side.
Yeah, because does he? I mean, ultimately, what is the reason that he feels the need to have this fight and try to kill Oliver? You know, like why is that? Like, does he think he's making the world a better place by taking Arrow out of it, or is he doing it because the rules of his little society off in the middle of nowhere demand it?
Yeah, it's a little ambiguous to that respect, and I kind of like that. Hopefully we don't get too many, like, straight answers from there.
Yeah.
But as the way it seems right now, with his killing Oliver for that, it seems like, because the way Merlin swings it, it's almost killing is wrong. Killing is the consequence, or killing is the action that's undermined by itself, and there seems to be, like, almost a little bit of deontology there. But we need a little bit more to go forward and see, is he talking about specific things that are just inherently wrong? Is he talking about, like, and justify the means? Or is he talking about, like, there's social contracts and there's a system in place, and that system is what you sign into agreement when you're born, and from there you go forward.
Right. And if you go if you go against that
it's
system,
less clear, so.
And if you go against that system, then the system is in jeopardy. So then it is moral to take you out of it.
Yeah, and in the comics, Raz is more of an act consequentialist anyway.
See,
like, he's got his rules and stuff, but it's very clear that actions have consequences. If those consequences undermine the greater good, then it's wrong.
Right. Well, and I would make the case that the Batman Begins Ra's al Ghul is 100% act over rule.
Yeah. I wrote a paper on that film once, and that's kind of what my standing was for that film.
Yeah. Like I don't even think we get a real good sense of how exactly his society works. Like, I think they're pretty vague about it.
Yeah, they're justifiably vague, and it works because they're doing like a really classic deontology versus consequential thing in that movie. And here they're doing that subliminally, but we don't know if that's ever going to pick up.
But see, this is where I feel like we have to back off and make sure that we're not, like, reaching too much, projecting things onto it, because I really like the way that they're playing him, but I wonder if, and this might be unfair, but there's a part of me that kind of feels like he has the values he has because they're writing the movie one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm just saying.
Possible.
I'm just saying they may not be saying anything with it really. They may just. But then there are some lines where you get the sense that maybe they do understand that idea. So I guess we just got to get more.
Movies didn't have like league law, so I guess that's there a little bit. They're clearly. Because Ra's al Ghul in the movie is really close to comic Ra's al Ghul, and this one just is one step further. So you have to wonder like how much they're taking from that movie versus how much they're just taking off the page.
Well, and importantly, in the movies, they weren't assassins.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's true.
They killed. They were more like terrorists, really. Like they went. I think. Again, I'm like, I don't know if you would agree with that word choice, but
his whole thing being eco-terrorist.
Yeah, so. Eco-terrorism. You know, it's okay. We go take down this whole city, and then try to build it back up. You know, and then they have all this like they create corruption because of corruption and try to make it worse. So they can start the whole thing over and all that. Like I always really liked all of that. But they're not like. Mercenaries.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we don't know like if people can just pay the League of Assassins to kill people either.
That's true. Yeah. So like, but I guess it's just usually when we say the word assassin, we mean like, you know, you go kill people for money, right? Like,
yeah.
Or is it not always that?
Yeah, that's weird.
I just don't know what
the League of Assassins do anything in this show that isn't tied to like League interests.
Weirdly, we haven't seen the League of Assassins do hardly anything in this show.
That's true. They're all reactionary.
Yeah.
So I guess that plays a little bit better to the act consequentialist thing. They have their system, and anything that undermines that system, they go for retribution. But again, we'd have to spend more time with that just to see if someone can pay like Merlin or Roz to kill someone for them, then most of this would be out the window. No, it absolutely would, because then they're just dead shot after that. Like it doesn't, you know, they'll kill for any reason. Like they at that point you don't care about morality. You know, you just Yeah, like in the comics, they've got a goal, they've got an interest. Their whole interest is the eco-terrorism thing, is to make the world a better place with an end justified the means kind of mentality. And Batman doesn't agree with that simply because it's ends justify the means, and that's where all that conflict comes from. In this, we still don't know. We don't know if Ra's is world-weary because he's lost his war, or if there's a war to begin with, or where any of that's going.
Yeah. Well, I get the sense that he's kind of world weary just because that would take a big toll out of you, you know, where you're just like, you know, almost like he would, in a twisted way, it's like he would see himself as Superman, right? Where like he has to be the pinnacle of well, not even the pinnacle of human existence, because he'll do bad things so that bad things won't happen, but the idea is like, you know, I can't be just a human being. I can't just have my own life. I have to only do this all the time. And in that way, it's like he would see himself as Superman. Like, I'm protecting everyone, and so I have to be better than everyone. I have to be above everyone. And I would get the sense that's where that attitude
he uses the Lazarus Pit to prolong his existence. It's not about his life as much as it's about how much his life affects everything else that's going around in the world.
It's like the world can't survive without me. I also really like the idea that they're a secret and nobody knows about them, and you know, I don't know how that works with the really flashy costumes that they're wearing, but anyway. Well, that's going to be it for us. Did you have anything else you want to throw out that we haven't talked about?
No. Just at the end of this episode, my first reaction was not Oliver's dead. My reaction was Lazarus Pit. Got it. So.
Yeah, that's where I was. And anybody that still somehow has never heard of the Lazarus Pit might get to the end of that episode and go, wow. I mean, it's a great cliffhanger. Don't get me wrong, but kind of think, just with the knowledge I've got of this material, I sort of know where it's going. If it's not Lazarus, I would be really surprised. Like I said, I hope the Lazarus Pits are where Mirakuru comes from. I think it's a huge missed opportunity if that's not the case.
Yeah, agreed. Although it would be a little bit counter to what they wanted to do with this season, with like being more grounded, but I feel like they didn't have any direction when they said that.
Maybe more grounded at the beginning. I don't know. But also, Steve, we just had a guy who said that he hasn't had a fight in 67 years. So,
yeah, like clearly this is not what they wanted from the beginning.
So
they're hoping this season was like, we're going to bring it back to season 1, ground street level superhero stuff, and that's not what we're getting at all.
That's okay though, because here's the thing. Like, I don't know. I kind of fight the word grounded sometimes. I feel like yeah, I'll give them that. I think in comparison to Flash, it is. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, so we're doing.
Yeah, that's fair.
So we're doing the Freak of the Week show over here, and then with Arrow, we keep it more or less that way. But it's as grounded as it was in 2. And 1 had. You know,
yeah, I'm not even saying like that's really a problem as much as just like there seems to be like they don't know where they were going when they said that, and we still don't know if they know where they're going.
I don't think they have. Ugh, it's rough. Anyway, well, once again, thanks a lot, folks, for watching. We sure appreciate it. We're not going to do trivia because we. Well, you know what kind of thing, but we probably should have because we could answer trivia questions on our next show. But
we could, yeah.
I didn't prepare anything because I haven't been doing trivia the last few shows, so we'll go ahead and skip it for today. I don't know how that's going to work with the new show. I'm sure we'll have some kind of trivia thing, because I love trivia. It's one of my favorite things. We won't have one for every single series, but, you know, we'll probably each have one, and we'll pick a show, and, you know, that'll be fun. Anyway, so I want to know what folks think about this episode. I want to know what folks think about our proposed live show. Again, that will start in January, and yeah, we just couldn't stop doing weekly talks about superhero TV. We're having too much fun with it.
Yeah, it's too much fun to sit there and talk about Gotham and Constantine and Arrow, even if they're good or bad.
Yeah, regardless. Well, thanks again, folks, for watching. We sure appreciate it. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Steve Baxi.
And we will see you again very soon. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Did you hear that? Sounded like I swallowed a coral reef.